text your answers at the end. So let's give a big standing ovation to Fundstarter, Claudius, and Aaron.
Okay, so I'm sure many of you guys are wondering what that little furry adorable creature on the screen is. Well, this is Mika, and Mika's a meerkat. Now, how many of you guys know about the meerkats? There we go. So, fun fact, meerkats are very communal animals, and they're highly dependent on each other, and essentially need the community to survive. Each one does a little bit in order to help ensure their survival. That makes a really big difference. Much like on Fundstarter, where every small donation not only helps the world survive, but also thrive. So my name is Claudius, this is Eric, and we're here to show you guys our story on how we became Fundstarter. And we're going to start from the very beginning. So this is me. Yes, I was raised in a very giving household and taught that every small amount counts. But as I grew up, came to college, I noticed something strange. I talked to my friends and I noticed that none of my close friends were giving to a cause. I found this really perplexing that no one was giving small donations. I talked to classmates and acquaintances and found more of the same result. So I enlisted the help of some friends and we decided to tackle this problem head on. We hypothesized that people would give if they had a centralized platform for which to do that on, that gave them incentives in the form of endorsed prizes. And so we went out to validate this. We talked to over 190 people, and here are the results. So we found out that 91% agreed with us that a centralized platform for giving would be very beneficial. 64% said that they would be more incentivized to give if they had prizes or some side incentive for their donations. And 17% agreed that having a sponsor endorse the campaign would make them more likely to give. So while we were doing all this research, we also were doing online research and trying to validate this. But we came across something big. We discovered that millennials aren't being targeted by nonprofits. They're not being engaged. And this is highly due to the fact that the incentives millennials want aren't the incentives nonprofits are offering. Now what's really cool is that with our survey, our target age range was around 27. So we discovered that we actually found the incentives millennials were looking for. It was these. But the tax deductions, the galas, the silent auctions that nonprofits currently offer are not feasible for millennials. They're more geared towards a higher financial backing. So our next logical step was to go talk to nonprofits. So this is One Girl. One Girl is a local nonprofit that deals with that's working towards empowering middle school, college-age girls and development of the workforce and leadership roles. Went to One Girl and we asked them about their development and their funding, how they're going about this. And One Girl told us that currently they're only pursuing donations of upwards of target donations of upwards of $5,000. And so knowing what we knew about millennials, we asked why weren't they pursuing smaller donations for the millennial generation? And in fact, they told us they actually wanted to, but One Girl just couldn't justify the cost of pursuing millennials when the cost heavily outweighed the benefits of a smaller individual donation around $20. And so this led us to phase 2 with a whole other set of assumptions. We knew that nonprofits wanted to engage millennials, and so we thought that they just needed a cost-effective platform which to do that on. And so we went out and surveyed nonprofits again, and we found out they're really actually excited about this type of solution. We talked to Brian, who is on the board of directors of the National Kidney Foundation, and he saw this type of solution as a way for them to increase their donor base and demographic, a way for them to get into that small donation sector. And Christy over at Make a Noise, which is a local nonprofit working to raise awareness and donations for ovarian breast cancer, saw this as a way for them to increase their demographic as well and capture the millennial generation. Now Eric is going to talk about what we learned in these 2 phases.
Thank you, Claudius. Alright, so what we have here is a outline, everything Claudius just talked about. So we have millennial donors and what we learned from them, what we validated from them, and then nonprofits and the same thing. So the key here is that nonprofits want to engage millennials. And we have 3 things here that are going to engage millennials. We also have the cost effectiveness underneath nonprofits. So this is Fundstarter. Fundstarter is a platform, it's a centralized platform where we incentivize millennial giving by offering prizes that are prizes endorsed by celebrities and sponsors. So as you can see here, it's centralized. There are tons of potential sponsors. And then if I take you into one of those campaigns, we see one of the sponsors is Gordon Gee, as he's raising money for Bucks for Charity. Gordon Gee's giving away prizes that are anywhere from a t-shirt to some football tickets. So it's also cost effective. So these stars represent Charity Navigator ratings. Charity Navigator is a site that rates charities on how they financially perform. And the 4-star is the highest rating you can get. As you can see, 10 cents of every dollar gets taken out in a 4-star charity to raise a dollar. Fundstarter comes in at 5.7%. Now, when we look at our competitors, we see that there's kind of two groups of competitors. We have this first group right here, and that group is more focused on individual giving. So you have a friend who's studying abroad or who's trying to pursue their dream job. You might have seen someone post an Indiegogo or an Indiegogo thing on Facebook. There's also Prizeo and Omaze, and those are two large-scale competitors which are focused on nonprofits, but they have this 1 in a million chance of winning something. As you saw on our last page, we have different tiers of prizes. And when we look at the cost effectiveness of this, we see that we're coming in on the low end. So perfect, we're done, right? We did it. We solved the dilemma. We've figured out both sides of the equation. All right, just kidding. We actually ran into another problem when we went out to nonprofits. We went out to nonprofits and we said, okay, look, we have this perfect solution for you. We can engage individuals. And they said, but where's the donor base? So we're like, oh, right, let's go talk to the donor base. We go talk to the donor base, and the donor base says, yeah, we want to talk to nonprofits. So we want to be able to give to nonprofits. So we have this chicken and egg dilemma that we run into. And this chicken and egg dilemma gets us in a creative mood. We come up with an idea of an organization that not only has a user base, an engaged philanthropic user base, but also works with nonprofits. So we reach out to OSU Greek Life, or we come up with the idea of OSU Greek Life. Now, OSU Greek Life has 5,000 members who each raise $182 per year for philanthropy. Now, they do it in a peer-to-peer way, so that's engaging more and more users on Fundstarter, which brings us to a market value of a little under $1 million in donations. So we reach out to IFC, which is the governing body of all the fraternities on campus, and they were ecstatic about this idea. It's a great way for them to create a platform to raise money online, and it solves a lot of their problems too. So I want to take you guys through a campaign. So in a microcosm, IFC would be our first step. IFC would run campaigns, or we'd run campaigns for each of the fraternities in IFC, and through those campaigns, which would be competitive, we would get 3,000 new Fundstarter users. Those Fundstarter users would be then engaged to work with nonprofits that we bring onto our site. Now, we did sign on our first customer, who's Charity Newsies. They're a 107-year-old nonprofit here that works on clothing children. So Charity Newsies would be able to engage 3,000 millennials. In order to do this, they would develop a 1-month campaign, which would be targeted, focused, and transparent. They would engage a sponsor, which they've already done. It's a local TV anchor here. And they decide on a number and type of prizes. So anything from a TV shout-out to the special edition Columbus Dispatch they print. Now, as we look forward, we want to do that Greek Life, and then bring on campaigns, that process over and over again. So we see that on the top, we want to expand to additional campuses. Campaigns, we want to expand the amount of campaigns we have. And on the bottom, our revenue is dictated by how much money we bring in terms of donations. So we take a 3% fee, that's where that 5% came earlier. And you can see how that grows to, in year 4, over $150,000. So this is the team that is helping you change the way you change the world, and we would love to answer any questions that you have. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Good job, guys. Great job. So, Mr. Dave.
So I'm curious if do you know the term gamification?
Yeah.
Awesome. Because I think I could see a significant aspect of
Yeah,
gamification.
we thought about challenges, and that's why we actually went to Greek life.
Yeah.
We're very, they like to have friendly rivalries.
Yeah.
So that, right now they do a lot of fundraising, but it's not, they don't really have real-time feedback on what they do.
Right.
So we want to bring that to a platform where they can all see how much they're fundraising,
Right.
and essentially increase their fundraising efforts based on what the other guys are doing.
No, I think that's great. I think even from a millennial donor, you
Yeah.
can even highlight that gaming aspect.
Exactly.
Too, so that's great.
So you guys are already out there now?
Yeah, so we have a platform. It's actually fundstarter.co. You can go check it out. It's mobile ready as well. We have a platform, and like we said, we tried our launch plan and taking this to nonprofits, and that's where we ran into our situation. And so to mediate that, we thought about Greek life, and so that's where we're currently going right now. Essentially, grow our user base. Plan on implementing this in the fall of next year and taking it on for the coming years. So.
If you do visit fundstarter.co on your mobile application, you'll see that it's all for demonstration purposes right now, but the site is completely functional. It just doesn't process payments.
Awesome, thank you.
So are you starting to, before you reach out to other chapters, are you reaching out to other chapters of the fraternities here that you're working with?
Yeah. So I met with the VP of development, and during the philanthropy process or term, they do a lot of roundtables. So they bring in all the development within each chapter, and they talk about what they're going to do, what events they're going to run. And so we plan to be present in that, and essentially bring on this idea. Now the VP is really ecstatic about it. He wants to take it on. We actually did a demo for them over the weekend. Because the term's running out, they really can't really do anything right now. They're not going to have another roundtable. But going to the fall, they're really excited about implementing this and going forward.
Were you talking about specific fraternities like across the nation expanding?
Yeah, because 150,000 in revenue for 4 years is tough business.
Yeah, absolutely.
So in terms of how you scale it, it's going to be really important.
Yeah, so each fraternity is different. I think that if it does catch with the national fraternity somewhere, those numbers are going to be much higher. But we want to stay conservative and not show you guys a huge hockey stick. And what we're doing here is we're starting with the Interfraternity Council, who governs all 52 fraternities on campus. So we'll have our hand in each one of those 55, and then if one of those does click on a national level, it'll be really easy to expand.
How did you come up with your 3% fee, and how did you validate that would be acceptable, not only to the internal folks at your student population, but also, obviously, you're taking from the nonprofit something that they could be receiving. So how did you determine what was a viable percentage that they were willing to give up?
So what we did was we looked at other services, and the competitor slide, pop back there for you. So we looked at other services that were out there that nonprofits were using. And nonprofits do use these middle ones, it's just not very prevalent. But we looked at those and we wanted to come in at the low end because we do understand that this is a for-profit business serving a nonprofit. And that's a weird tango to get into. But we also understand that when you look at nonprofits, the majority of them are not 4 stars, right? The majority of them are down in this 3-star, 2-star range. So it's taking them 20, 25 cents on the dollar, or 20, 25 cents to raise $1. If we can do that for 5.5 cents, I think that we're providing substantial benefit for them.
And then when we did the validation talking to 190 people as well as the nonprofits, we asked this question, how much, I guess essentially, would you see us taking as a fair amount? And the nonprofits were very adamant about us coming in at a very low amount, whereas our competitors right now, so those competitors I showed you, are going around 8 to 10% generally for commission fees. So we're coming in very under.
I have a couple questions. Within Greek life, how do kind of get people to rally around charity newsies. I would imagine that a lot of fraternities kind of have their own national philanthropy that they associate with.
Yeah, so, sorry if that wasn't clear. Greek Life campaigns are going to work with their own charities. Now, what we're going to do is create a competitive environment where they can come on and raise money for their own charities, but then they've already created Fundstarter accounts, and since they are philanthropic people, we're going to bridge that user base and kind of allow charity newsies and other organizations like that to run campaigns on the site where those people already are. So they're not directly fundraising for charity newsies. We wouldn't want to get in the way of previous relationships, but if they're going to give additional amounts, this would be a great way to do it.
And the 5.7%, so the other 2.7, does that go to like
Payment
Stripe,
gateway.
PayPal?
Yeah, PayPal, payment gateway.
One more question? Anybody?
Good. I like you. Full of questions.
I am. I just had an idea. Have you thought about collecting email addresses and giving those to the charity as well as a way to provide additional value?
Yeah, so when we talk to nonprofits, they obviously want to know who's contributing to them, who's kind of backing their support. And so we're working with the legal team as well, they're in here. We talked to them about ways of going about doing this, essentially providing the nonprofits with that information. And so kind of in our disclaimer or our terms of use, we would state that nonprofits would be given information such as email, maybe name and contact information if you contribute to their campaign.
Great job, guys. Give them another round of applause.